Hello everyone and welcome back to Theories by T. You can call me T, and today I am breaking down everything you might have missed in Doctor Who Episode 3, Boom. This will be a play-by-play analysis of the episode, looking at the Easter eggs, callbacks, explanations of things you might not understand, and my theories as to what might happen next. Spoilers if you haven't seen it, and now without further ado, boom. We open on the planet Castorian 3, the first new planet of the new era of the show, written by Steven Moffat, who was the showrunner for the Doctor's 11th and 12th run, and wrote some of the best of the earlier episodes too, like Blink and The Girl in the Fireplace. The entire planet and every scene was filmed indoors in a studio built to make look like an actual rocky planet, with the background filmed in two ways. One with a giant painted mural all across the background, and for moments where we've seen things in motion, they use these giant LED screens that project a 3D window into the scene, tracking the actors' movements. You might have heard of this technology being used with the Star Wars series and the Percy Jackson series called Volume. It allows the actors to get a better sense of what they're acting in, so they can kind of change what they do in each time and kind of really become immersed in the world, but also allows the directors and filmmakers on set to adjust and change things like lighting and set decoration to fit the scene. Among the war zone, we see this round ship destroyed. This is actually the same type of ship used by the Meep in the Star Beast episode. In fact, they used that exact prop and just repurposed it for this point. One of the Anglican soldiers, Mundy Flynn, is played by Varada Sethu, a surprise appearance for the episode because she was confirmed to be the next companion in season 2 alongside the Doctor and Ruby. At the time of filming this in 2023, not even Varada herself knew that she'd be coming back for season 2, adding her to the list of many companions that appeared at least a season before they were due to start. The soldiers' ranking systems are all biblical titles of the church, like Canto says that he's not a bishop, Mundy calls him a verger, and both Mundy and Splice's dad are Anglican Marine. This is very similar to the Church of the Papal Mainframe or the Church of the Silence in the Time of the Angels episode. Father Octavian was ranked as a bishop and some of his other soldiers were clerics. As far as I'm aware, there's no actual connection between these two other than the fact that they're both written by Steven Moffat, and I guess both of them are armies and soldiers that are based around a religion. In this case, this was Anglican, so it's a form of Christianity. The blind John Francis Veta and his comrade get stopped by an ambulance robot, and the AI is actually played by Susan Twist. If you've been keeping count, this is now her 5th appearance in Doctor Who since the Wild Blue Yonder episode last year. Now, my theory last week would be that she's someone that the Doctor would recognize because in all of her scenes, the Doctor always disappears or looks away whenever she appears on screen. But in this case, not only does he look right at her, but he's surrounded by multiples of them. So there goes that theory. Now, she kills John due to his blindness recovery time, making him ineffective for battle. And if that sounds extreme, it's supposed to be, and we'll find out why later. Then the Doctor runs out of the TARDIS, but stands on a landmine, and we've got a bottle episode, folks. For those who don't know, a bottle episode is a format of TV where the most of the story takes place in one singular set or location. Once upon a time, this was done in TV just to get an episode out really fast, but then over time became an actual creative expression tool and a way for the directors and writers to kind of get a unique type of episode. The Doctor sings the Skyboat song when he's on the mine to calm himself down, and this was actually played by the second Doctor on his famous recorder in the episode Web of Fear, and then again by the Master on that same recorder in The Power of the Doctor. He asked Ruby to find a good-sized rock that was a callback to Genesis of the Dalek, where similarly the Doctor was stuck on a landmine. The Doctor quickly points out the strangeness of Castarian 3 having a war here when it's basically an empty planet, foreshadowing very early on the fact that there is no war on Castarian 3 and the soldiers were just duped into thinking there was one in order to boost sales of the weapons manufacturer Velengard. The weapons planet known for making the sonic blasters that Jack uses, and the 1st and 12th Doctors paid a visit there on Steven Moffat's final episode as showrunner. Velengard is the villain. Imagine that. And in this scene, no specific Easter egg here, but I'm just so impressed and taken back by the acting of both Ncuti and Millie. From Ncuti's facial expression to the choke in Millie Gibson's voice, and Ruby having to be brave enough to hand the Doctor that tube, she kind of reminds me of Amy in that regard, knowing that this is her best friend and she will do anything to help it. The Doctor then calms himself down again by reciting the poem of the President's Wife, the same one that he says in Hellbent. It's then revealed that Velengard have been killing off the slightly wounded because patients are expensive, but armies buying weapons is a profitable industry. When Splice and Mundy arrive, we find out how the bomb actually works and learn that it actually turns the host into a living bomb. For humans, not that big a blast, but for a Time Lord with regeneration energy coursing through his veins, he is a full-on time-space event, and that will blow up half the planet. Notice how in this moment, Mundy holds her gun trigger in her right hand, implying that she is right-handed, which is why she asks Ruby later to shoot her in the left arm. And I love that both Mundy and Ruby both dive into selfless acts to try and protect the Doctor. Ruby drawing the ambulance's attention, and Mundy wanting to to get shot for it too. But then trigger happy Kanto takes down Ruby, and I'm telling you, my heart was in my throat at this point. It was so scary. I really thought that Moffat came back just to kill off another companion. And notice in that moment, the Doctor couldn't even properly scream and let out his full emotion because he knows he still needs to stay completely still for this bomb not to go off. So instead, he has to just let out this gasp and then hold his voice back. Now, interesting moment, when the ambulance scans Ruby, it can't find her next of kin, even though they are 3,000 years in the future. Now, this is a good reminder that we not only don't know who Ruby's mother is or the mysterious woman that dropped her in front of that church, we also don't know any of her blood family relatives at all. Remember, Davina McCall trekked everywhere, and there's a whole TV show based on trying to find them. I mean, in this case, the ambulance droid even glitches because it can't find anything. I think this might imply that Ruby might not have actually been born in the traditional sense. Maybe she was kind of produced. Maybe she came from one of the other dimensions like Maestro and the Toymaker. Yes, if you saw my theory from last week, I said that the Doctor could be a god, but hey, maybe Ruby could be a god too. Then it snows yet again, much like in Space Babies. Now, the Doctor theorized that this was the universe's way of saying, hey, stay away from this point in time. It's really important and powerful. But rather than fear this moment, the Doctor sees this as a point of hope. And I think this is because he saw this as the universe's way of saying, hey, no, she's not meant to die here. This is not what we approved. It's almost like the Doctor is saying, okay, yeah, the universe has got my back on this one. The scene of the Doctor realizing that Ruby may be dying was so powerful because while it looks like he's grieving or even having a panic attack, you see that he calms down. You see the confidence come back in his eyes. And that's because at this point, he knows exactly what he needs to do. He tells Mundy that this whole time, the Anglicans haven't been fighting an actual war and that no Kestarians actually exist. Yes, the answer was right in front of them the whole time. The mines were placed there by Velengard in order to trick the soldiers into believing that there is hostile action on this battlefield. The AI algorithm of the Velengard were placing these traps to kill the soldiers to essentially create the illusion that there is war on this planet. More war means more business for Velengard. So if Mundy and the army just surrender, then the AI recognizes that there is no need for them to respond. And I love that when she asks for proof, the Doctor looks at her and says, Faith Gyal. Clearly a bit of black twang, almost certainly added by Ncuti in some sort of table read because I cannot see Stephen Moffat writing the word Gyal. The Doctor then pleads to John's fatherly instinct, even as an AI amalgamation, knowing from one father to another, a parent's instinct to protect their kids is very powerful. Yet another mention of the Doctor being a parent. I wonder if that's going to be important later. John manages to hack the system, shutting off the mine and turning the ambulances into, well, ambulances. And I love that at the end, Splice's outlook on the afterlife actually warms the Doctor, saying her dad isn't gone, just dead. Quite similar to her earlier sentiment of her mother not being dead, but rather gathered. The Doctor, as much as he criticized faith in this episode, admits he actually needs it. And I think that's because he sees the power of it, because there's not much that separates hope from faith other than certainty. He knows that even he needs faith in this very uncertain universe. He then tells Splice his favorite food is fish fingers and custard, the iconic favorite food of the 11th Doctor, and then expresses to Ruby what he's been saying all episode, that death is just a part of life. We're all beaches in the end. We're all dust in the end. Even the Doctor himself is aware of his own mortality, having seen Trenzalore. He knows it ends for him at some point. But don't get this point twisted, he doesn't agree with the soldiers using faith to justify ridiculous actions that have no empathy. But he does admit to knowing that when you have faith, even after death, there is something that gets left behind. Love. It's all sappy and emotional. So some unanswered mysteries that are still unfolding. Who is Susan Twist and why is she constantly appearing in every episode? Is this gonna have a payoff at some point? Could Ruby be a member of the Pantheon and that's why we don't know where any of her living relatives are? How will Varada Sethu appear in the next season? Is she gonna be playing the same character or will she character change like how Amy and Martha did? And that theory from last week about the Doctor / timeless child being from another universe, essentially making him a god like the Toymaker. I'm still hanging on to that because thematically speaking, this episode discusses death and the Doctor's understanding of life and death. I think this is a very key thing that Russell is weaving into the season. I think it could come back in the end. Let's just see how far that theory takes us. That's everything that I found. Thank you guys so much for watching this breakdown. Follow me on Instagram for even more content about all of your favorite movies and shows at Theories by T. That is the best way to support me as a creator so I can make more fun and in-depth content just like this one. Question of the day, what is your favorite Stephen Moffat episode of Doctor Who? I'll get the ball rolling by revealing mine in the comment section. I'll see you down there. I've been T, and that's the T.